Hi, everyone. Thank you for watching. By law, I have to tell you that this is for entertainment purposes only. All videos are property of Psychic Liz Cross, LLC. Thank you. Hello, we are doing a live CTT workshop here this morning with our CTT warriors. We come up with so much information all the time, and we're just so grateful. We have our mathematician in the house today. Whoop, whoop. Thank God, because this was his idea. It's about not breaking, saying we're going to break soul contracts. So, for those of you listening out on the main channel, a lot of stuff is on the CTT channel. If you're not subscribed to the CTT channel, you need to be because A, that's the backup channel. B, that's where there's a lot of spiritual information and it's free healing. Literally, like all you have to do is listen to the recordings. I can monetize that channel, but I don't. Why? Because who wants to watch an advert in the middle of tapping? Like that would just be a killjoy, wouldn't it? So anyway, there's a lot of information there. If you're not there, you need to join it, and I will drop the link to that channel down below in the comments. So, what we're going to work on today, and thank you all for being here. And this is our CTT group. We love one another. We work so hard. We do a lot together. Every Monday morning at 9 a.m. Central, we're working our way through a lot of different topics, and we're feeling lighter every week because we're getting rid of this dark, weighted energy. And as we're going through and we're figuring stuff out, right? One thing that is really, really bothersome to so many people, myself included, is why we're making these soul contracts that are just bogus, right? We're making them over and over, the same lessons all the time with people we don't even like, right? Like, why? And it's about getting rid of these soul contracts once and for all. Now, what we do know is that you have to release all karma from the soul contract. Okay. So, say you're in a soul contract with one individual, you don't want to be in that soul contract with them ever again because of how it makes you feel. Okay. And you have to release all karmic debt around the soul contract. You can do that with the CTT. Does that mean you've broken the soul contract? No. No, at that point, it doesn't necessarily mean you have broken the soul contract. It means that you're on the way there, but you have to be released by that person. So if you are in these unfair soul contracts where, they get all the benefit, you're trying to make strides in your ascension, your spiritual journey, and they're just swinging on your coattails because hey, it's a good deal for them, not you, but them, right? They won't release you from those contracts. It's very difficult. So then what you have to do is you have to use the CTT to change their perception and to influence them in a way. Okay? Actually, uh, there is a whole school of remote viewing that is based upon influence, but we won't get into that. But that's, it's sort of the same principles apply, which is you have to do this many, many, many times in order to influence that perception of the other person to let you go. Okay? And I'm sure that we can all think of soul contracts that benefited the other person but did not benefit us. And so, as we started getting into how do we dissolve these contracts, what we found with our mathematician here is that, well, okay, you can release yourself from this particular person, but who's to say you're not going to make similar soul contracts with others that are doing the exact same thing? And this is where he's come up with this idea of Okay, we've got to install boundaries, right? Just as we, as people here on the earth plane, we have boundaries and we should have boundaries. If you don't have boundaries, you better get some quick, fast, and in a hurry. I'm telling you, you're going to have a really bad life. Um, but the soul has to have boundaries too. And we have to make sure that, okay, this soul used and abused me here on the earth plane, that we just don't make any contracts like that. And we do that by what the mathematician has found here is by putting in boundaries. Now, the reason for this workshop is how exactly and what boundaries are we putting in? There's no point just saying to the soul, okay, let's put in boundaries. The soul doesn't understand that. The soul's like scratching its head going, what are you talking about? That it's gibberish. It's like speaking another language. You have to be so precise with the boundaries that you're putting into your soul, right? So you would say something to the effect of, there's a part of me that knows how to easily and joyfully manifest to instill within my soul these boundaries around soul contracts. And then you would make an extensive list, right? But what is the list? Well, we don't actually know. So our mathematician is going to come forward now, and we just thank him so much. Listen, I got to give him credit where credit's due. First of all, he's the one that got us down the path of channeling mathematicians. Okay. And we are so lucky that everybody in our group is so highly intelligent and so benefiting everyone else in the group. We just, I can't tell you how thankful I am. And I'm sure everybody else is thankful as well. Um, so he got us down the path of channeling these mathematicians on a regular basis. Why? Because the universe is built on mathematics, right? Far too complex for us and our brain capacity to ever be able to resolve. But the fact that he always is thinking in mathematical terms, right, brings in such a huge benefit for us. So thank you for that. Number two, he's young. Yeah, would you believe we have somebody under the age of 40 in our group, right? And that's huge. That's huge. So for those of you in the group that are young, okay, congratulations. You somehow in your souls, you manage to say, hey, I want to start my spiritual journey early so that I can have as much time as possible to work on this. And I'm going to find this particular modality, CTT. Of course, we know the story that George and I were up there in the spirit world. We had our shingle out trying to get people to sign up, and you all signed up. So, and I'm so glad that we all made these contracts. I really am. I'm so grateful for that. But he started early. And that, I think, is a point for all of us to be putting into our souls, right? The fact that, hey, why are we starting our spiritual journey and getting serious about it from, most of the time, the average person from age 40, right, onward. Some people 50, 60, 70, 80, right? We don't have as much time to devote to the spiritual journey. I mean, obviously, it's dependent upon the soul plan and the life plan that you made for the particular lifetime. If you're going to end it short or you're going to extend it out, I think most of us are extending our life plans out now, especially with all the medical advancements and things like that. So it allows us to live longer. But, on the whole, our mathematician, and those of you that are under the age of 40 and you found this early, he was in his 20s when he found this, guys. Seriously. So, I mean, congratulations. And that to me is like, wow, I need to put that in my soul. Okay. So, anyway, mathematician, are you there?
I'm here yet.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. Is there anything you want to add whatsoever to what I just said?
No, I think that was a great start. We can just bring in them our normal guys and then just start with the questions and see where it goes.
Okay. So, our mathematician has prepared quite a few questions and notes. I mean, he's very quick though. He thinks on his feet, right? And we're going to figure out where to go with these soul boundaries, right? So, where would you like to start? We're going to bring in
So,
our panel.
yeah, so let's bring in Ramanujan, Turing, and Carl Jung as well.
Okay, so Carl Jung, Ramanujan, for those of you that don't know, he was a very famous Indian mathematician back in the day. I believe he died in very early on. It was like 1920s. Yep. And then we have Turing, who is
Yeah.
a British mathematician. Would you like anyone else?
We'll start with them for now and then just see how it goes.
Okay, brilliant. All right, let's fire away. And for those of you in our group, drop it in the chat if you have something you would like to add.
Yeah. So let's start with Ramanujan and just ask him like, can you explain what soul boundaries exactly are?
Ooh, okay. So, what exactly are soul boundaries? So Ramanujan, very practical. He comes back with it's the information aligned with the soul that dictates the terms of what the soul can and cannot do. So it basically gives the soul rules, regulations, guidelines, limitations.
Hmm. So then, are souls aware of their own like boundaries? Like, do souls have ideas of that they can have boundaries?
Do souls have the idea or know that they can instill boundaries? That's a no.
Okay. So do you know when they initially when we started making contracts, we'd have advisors to give us contracts, make contracts for us. Did those advisors stop putting boundaries into us since the beginning?
So, thank you. So, for those of you that are listening regarding the CCT information to start off with, this is your first time, maybe you're new. There's a big problem in the spirit world. And I believe Mr. Reality has also identified this on some of his probes that we've done, where we have these teams of advisors in the spirit world that start giving us loads of advice, and oftentimes they have never been a human being. That presents a major problem, right? So that's a flaw that we've identified. So I'm sorry, what the question again?
So did when the soul when the advisors started giving making soul contracts for us, did they actually start putting boundaries in for us as well? Did they tell us our soul boundaries as well?
No,
So
they did
souls
not.
have okay. So most souls don't have any boundaries installed or don't understand anything about soul boundaries.
So do most souls have boundaries installed? I mean, the boundaries that they have installed, they've learned along the way,
Right.
right? And the second part of that,
No, that was the main question. So, like, most souls don't really have any soul boundaries installed, or like, if they do, they've learned along. So, they've basically learned as they go along what their soul boundaries are from experience.
so they've learned what their soul boundaries are from experience. Yes, that is correct. But as far as like having a guideline list,
Hmm.
a firm list attached to the souls that say, no, we're not doing this, that's a negative. That's a no.
So, are there any souls that actually have a list of like firm boundaries in place?
Ooh, are there any souls that have a list of firm? But yes, but those are very ascended souls. Do they reincarnate here on the earth plane anymore? No, they do not.
So, how far did they get before they realized they need to have boundaries in place?
How far did they get before they needed to? Sort of around the last few lifetimes here on the earth plane.
Oh, that's very late. Wow.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay. So, is that where most souls normally start understanding what soul boundaries are towards the back end of their incarnations?
Is that why most souls do not? Yes, that is correct. They sort of figure it out at the end. Yeah.
Why is it that they figure out at the end? Why can't like souls figure out earlier on from in their lifetimes?
Why do they figure it out at the end? That's when everything starts to come together. And what Ramanujan is saying, and Turing and Jung are in agreement with him, is that it's kind of like, oh, well, we're figuring it out as we go along, right? There's
Yeah.
no playbook, there's no manual, as we know.
Mm.
So it really is a trial and error process.
Yeah, right. So can you ask Carl Jung, so when souls make contracts, why is it that some souls make contract that um make like that benefit them quite a lot compared to the other soul? Like they take a lot more from the other soul instead of like benefiting them, instead of being equal contracts.
Yeah, yeah. Why do some souls make contracts? Ooh, okay. Because we allow them to. They're allowed to. As in, we as souls
Mm,
quite freely enter into contracts that are imbalanced.
right. But why
That's
don't
the
our
problem.
so why don't our souls say no to those contracts?
Why do our souls not say no to those contracts? Because on a soul level, we are very forgiving.
Hmm.
And we also forget. We forget the, again, very similar to what we get a lot of the times, but we forget how hard it is. It's kind of like that struggle, that difficulty that we faced on the earth plane, those difficulties as if we just come here and face one, but the multiple difficulties, it's just released from us. The weight is lifted off of us when we get into the spirit world. It's like, yeah, that was no big deal, you know?
Yeah,
So we
yeah,
just do this again. Oh, yeah, I'll help you. It all seems like a great idea at the time.
yeah. So when souls go back to the spirit world, do they actually review the contracts they've had and actually analyze them?
So when souls go back to the spirit world, do they actually review the? Yes, and that is contained in the life review.
Hmm.
Do they actually analyze them? Most souls do not sit there analyzing soul contracts like the what was. They're more focused on that what will be. So
Right.
that's what I'm getting. Like we're more focused. Oh, let's look. We have so much to look forward to. Let's look forward to the future. I'm worried
Yeah.
about this and worried about that. And the what was is kind of in the past. It doesn't, we don't sit there analyzing, oh yeah, this time it's gonna be great. Me and you will go down and we're gonna do this again, but the circumstances are gonna be completely different. I'll be this person, you be that person, and but then we end up back in the drudgery.
So is there a way, sorry, is there a way where the souls can actually take their lifetime on board and actually like remember what they've done and how the impact it's had on them during their life?
Hmm. Is there a way that the souls can? It has to be installed, but most of the time it's like forgive and forget.
So why is that why is that the main sort of the main way souls operate where they just forgive and forget the contracts?
Why is it that it's the main? They just forgive and forget the. Because if we did, here we go. Because if we did not do it that way, we would just not even bother to enter into more contracts. We wouldn't play the game.
Hmm. So is there a way to play the game where we can actually um make good contracts with only certain souls, like souls would be beneficial to us and continue playing this game?
Is there a way to play the game where we only make certain contracts and sorry, what was the rest of that?
So make certain contracts with souls that will benefit us and not make contracts with souls that won't like that will hurt us instead.
But see, that's where you have to put the boundaries in.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, there is, but this is where we come to this. Okay, well, I'll play the game, but I'm not willing to do this, and this, right?
Yeah.
For the
Yeah.
sake of not you, but the
Mm.
benefit of the other soul
Yeah.
only,
Yeah. Yeah. So
or the
yeah.
benefit that we receive is very minimal.
Yeah. Yeah. So when making the soul contracts, do souls understand that the impact of the contracts they're making at that point?
So when souls make the contract, do they understand No, no, that's all hindsight.
Right. So they don't use their past experience to make new contracts?
No, they really don't. It's all about, that was a good question,
Mm,
right? I
yeah.
mean, they sort of know what they want and not want to do. So, for instance, a lot of souls, particularly very masculine energy souls, have been in a lot of war, a lot of fighting, a lot of killing and hunting and be hunted and all that. They kind of know what they don't want to enter into personally. Like, yeah, I'm kind of done with the war. But as far as getting down to the nitty gritty of making contracts, that's a no. They don't really look at the particulars. Like, how exactly is this going to benefit me? How am I going to feel whilst this contract is in play, is in motion? What is this going to do to me? Is this going to traumatize me in such a way that I take on dark energy that I can't get rid of? Does it put me in a trap?
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't think like that as souls. We're just like, yeah, okay, let's do it.
So is that something that can be installed into a soul to analyze the impact of contracts?
Yes.
And is that through CTC?
Well, yes. I mean, that's the modality that I
Mm,
use.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of different ways to install it. But the transference of that energy and that information, that's why we do the tapping. So it basically, there has to be a transference, energetic transference of information. Because I'm asking, well, like, what about like QHHT, BQH, things like that? And not so much.
Yeah.
Because it's not really a transference of information into the soul. Usually during those hypnotherapy sessions, just using QHHT and BQH as an example, that is a time for the soul to come through and to speak. It's not really a time for us to put information in.
Yeah. Yeah. So when a soul is making contracts, like what information do they have available when they actually make the contracts?
So making contracts. Very little other than previous life experience. But don't forget that life experience or multiple past lives experience, those of us on a human level, we've had thousands of lifetimes. But it just, the burden is not there. The burden and the weight and the feelings are just not there. It's like we don't really have access to that weighted recall.
Wow. Okay. But again, is that something that can be installed into a soul to make it available so that the soul pays attention to that kind of information?
Is that kind of stuff that we can install? We can install the memory of what we want and what we don't want, but the weighted feelings are
Mm,
not present in the spirit world. Okay.
yeah.
That's where the things go. Now, a question that came through, and I thought I explained it on the video, but maybe I didn't properly. So, because a lot of people were questioning, there was a video, I can't even remember. I put out so much content. I don't know from one day to the next what I'm doing. But there was a question of, oh yeah, it was that advisor or whoever was shouting at me, the life review person, the coach
Ah,
or
yes, in
whatever.
Roman's
Yeah,
video, yes.
that one.
Yeah.
Well, how come they were tapping into negatives and telling me, to shut up? Which, by the way, is not
Mm,
the first time I've had people or souls up there shouting and yelling at me, trying to get me to back down. I've been in, almost fisticuffs with Source myself. Like,
yeah.
Source has told me, shut up, don't ask me
Mm,
these questions. Why are you bothering me? Once they realize that I'm not going to back down, they start to soften because it's like, hey, Liz is going to ask you this whether you like it or not. And you can sit there and telling me, effing and blinding me all you want to. Eventually, you're going to cave because I have more energy than you do,
yeah.
right? At that point. but that was the question, which was, how come that being, that soul was tapping into negativity at that time? Well, the reason being is because when I'm channeling, I'm bringing them down to
Mm,
an earth plane level and they're plugging into me. That's why channelers get very exhausted. And I know sometimes people in readings think that I can go for like 2, 3, 4, forget it. I'm absolutely dead by that point because
yeah.
it takes a lot of energy to facilitate mediumship and to
Mm,
facilitate psychic information. So what happens is they come down to the earth plane and they're plugging into me. Well, what am I? I am an earth plane soul, okay? Disguised as Liz Cross, but whatever. But so they're plugging into me. So therefore, they have access to those negatives again,
yeah.
okay? And that happens anytime I channel somebody. So if your father or your mother comes down, or whoever, friend or sibling, they come down and maybe they feel bad about a particular event, or, the way that the soul contract was, they'll hold their head in shame and they sort of start tapping into these feelings of guilt, lack of forgiveness, feeling like a failure. Well, the reason they feel that way is because at that point, their energy is here on the earth plane and it's plugged into me. Okay. So it says, oh, I can access through this medium this whole smorgasbord or buffet of feelings that I otherwise would not have access to. So that's what happens.
Yeah.
So sorry, so the question that you asked was like, well, how come we don't really remember that part? We
Yeah.
because it's just not available to us up in the spirit world unless we're plugged in. So if you're plugged into a medium while you're making all your millions and billions of contracts,
Mm,
feel sorry for that medium, then yes, you could plug in and remember that, but that would be unfair to the medium here on the earth plane. And plus, it would just not even be energetically possible. So, no, the answer is no. We are basically up there, and the weight is not apparent.
yeah. Yeah. So when it's spread, so the main thing souls want is to ascend, right? So why do they keep making contracts that don't help them ascend?
So, shall I ask Young or the panel? I'll ask
And we
everybody.
can ask the yeah, ask everybody.
Why are we making contracts that do not allow us to ascend? Because basically, we're fools in this way. We're naive, is what I'm getting. This is where we actually, when we're making these contracts, we don't know whether on the back end of the contracts, after the contracts have played out, whether it's going to lead to our ascension or not. We're making a guess that it will. Yeah, he is asking great questions. This is why, listen, guys, these guys are brilliant, right? We are so lucky. And he's young too. Can you believe it? Like yeah, somebody just complimented you on asking great questions, and you are. So yeah, we just are not, what I'm getting from the panel is we just are not like understanding that on the other side of these contracts, when they have been completed, that we are basically, did we ascend? No. Maybe we will, maybe we won't, is what I'm getting. Like, we don't know. It's all a guessing game. It's roulette. We don't know if we're going to ascend. Now, as we uncovered for you, mathematician, is that there was a lifetime where you were an insect and that you saved a few insects from some sort of impending disaster. You carried them out of the nest or whatever it was, and you saved them, and you ascended greatly from that. When you got to the end of the lifetime, you're like, wow, I saved all these people. Wow, look, I took these great leaps in ascension. Now that is something that we've uncovered before in I think in the CTT or somewhere, where saving lives does promote ascension. But then you have now taken on this role of, I'm going to be this martyr. I'm gonna save in every lifetime, but I don't need to necessarily physically, like plug a wound that's bleeding. I don't need to be a doctor. I don't need to be like an ambulance or a field medic, combat medic, whatever, nurse. I don't need to necessarily do that, but I'm going to save all these people very generously in a different way. I'm going to make them feel good, and I'm going to put energy and time into these contracts. And then it's like these people, these souls, they take the energy, they take the time, and they leave you flat, which is
Mm.
exactly the pattern that we've uncovered for you, which has led to this whole sort of, philosophy and theory of putting in these boundaries, right? Because this is
Yeah.
what we do.
Yeah.
Basically we keep doing this. Oh yeah, I save people this way, so why not save them that way? And it doesn't work. We end up being the ones that are physically, mentally, energetically drained. And when we come down to the earth plane, as we're born as human beings, we are 100%, unless the mother is highly traumatized during pregnancy. For the most part, we are, an abundance of positive energy. And then through these circumstances and events and traumas that we go through throughout the lifetime, what it does is it stills our light and it replaces it with darkness. And that is the task that we have to go through. We have to try to locate the darkness, process it into light. And that's why when we do CTT sessions, we feel lighter because we processed that dark energy that has been hanging around, whether it's in this lifetime or it could be in previous lifetimes, and we release it and we process it. And it's a guessing game, right? So even for us with our conscious minds, it's a total guessing game. And so yeah, so we're going through, and our mathematician here is going through making these contracts. I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but
No, that's fine.
making these contracts with like these leeches, and they basically leave him flat, and then he's stuck with the dark energy, the trauma, that he has to try to use CTT. And he does a lot of his own tapping, right? Very diligent with his homework, and he does a lot of tapping to try to release the trauma. But every time it's just like a little bit more and a little bit more. And if you have it compounding all at once, well, you're going to end up with like PTSD, right? Now, when you start getting into PTSD, it really starts to distort and change the personality of the person. You don't find a lot of joy, and you head down that road, and trying to remove the PTSD from the individual becomes a very difficult job. Now, we can talk about scaling towards the end because I know some of you
Mm.
know how to do that, but there, that is one way that you can start to identify these feelings and get them down.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, let's also just talk about soul consciousness as well, because we brought that
Mm-hmm.
up last week. So if you just ask Ramanujan or Turing to explain what soul consciousness is first.
Mm-hmm. What is soul consciousness? What are we saying that soul consciousness is? So, for those of you that are new and you don't participate in the CTT group, or you're not listening to the recordings, you're going to be wondering, like, what are you guys talking about? Well, so we have different levels of consciousness, okay? So you have your consciousness that is present with who you are now. Who you are as a being now, who you are. Those of you listening out there, you have a conscious mind, okay? The conscious mind, by the way, is what chooses to tell lies. This is a question I get a lot on the YouTube comments. Liz, these people are lying to you. No, they're not. When I'm doing a mind probe, I'm not tapping into their conscious mind. No, why? Because they will lie to me. You have to tap into a different level of consciousness that is unable to lie. And that different level of consciousness is the subconscious. Okay. So, why do people fail lie detector tests? Well, it's because their conscious mind is choosing to tell a lie, but the subconscious is sending signals like I'm scratching my nose, I'm pulling my hair, I'm fidgeting, I'm whatever, my heart rate, whatever the markers or the indicators are for the lie detector test. That's because the subconscious knows that you're lying, and it starts sending out these signals, hey, this person is lying, which is why police use this all the time, detectives and investigators, right? Because the subconscious cannot lie. Okay, it doesn't. I'm not tapping into the conscious mind when I'm doing mind probes. I'm going straight for the truth meter, which is held in the subconscious. So that's just a little bit for you guys to know. Okay, so then you have the subconscious. The subconscious is where all the personal thoughts, feelings, and opinions are held. And that is due to this present life experience. All of that is held in the subconscious, right? So maybe you've had bad experiences, like, I don't know, let's just say something stupid like eating hamburgers. You know that every time you eat a hamburger, you get a stomach ache. So that information is held in the subconscious. Therefore, you're at a burger joint and they say, what would you like to order? And the subconscious starts communicating with the conscious mind until the conscious mind eventually gets it that, hey, ordering hamburgers is bad for me. It causes me to have a stomach ache. Okay. That's from all the past experiences that are held in the subconscious. Right. Now, beyond that, you have the soul. And the soul has its own consciousness. Okay. This is what we're talking about. So, what I'm getting from the panel here is it's an accumulation of all the past life experiences that form the soul consciousness.
Yeah. So, what does the soul conscious allow a soul to do? Why is it important to the soul?
Why is the soul consciousness important to the soul? Because based upon those experiences, that is how we proceed to make our life plans by using the experiences of the soul consciousness. And majority of it is focused on what caused us to greatly ascend. What events or experiences did we have in previous lifetimes that caused us to ascend? Let's recreate those again. But as we have found out, even during this, chat here this morning, is that we don't know the final outcome. We don't know. If I wanted to enter into a contract with you, mathematician, and I know for sure that I'm going to gain 10 levels on the ascension ladder, and I know that that outcome is finite, then we would all be doing that, right? And then we would all ascend very quickly and we'd get the hell off the earth plane and we wouldn't have to reincarnate ever again. And guess what? Source is now out of energy at this point. Okay. Meaning that we're all reabsorbing back in very quickly. That's the end goal, to reabsorb back into source. Game over. We're done. On to the next universe. Okay. That's not the way the system is designed. This is a very slow, painstakingly process, system, game, whatever you want to call it, that wants to maximize full power. The power is located, how we power the system, and those of us in the CTT group know we power the system by our emotions. Now, positive emotions, they give little bumps of joy every now and again. Here you go, here's a little bump. But negative emotions, really putting us through the ringer, that feeds the system big time, greatly. Now, they take that negative, and obviously that negative energy that we're injecting into the universal consciousness machine, which is a totally mathematical, like, computation thing, right? When I look at it, it's like somebody sitting there. The old cartoons where they'd have like an ant or something sitting there at the calculator? That's what it looks like to me. Okay, so you're going in and you're looking and it's just all these mathematical equations flying around and we're trying to solve them, and time is another mathematical equation. It's hitting towards the universe, as we're pushing through time, that's another way to solve these problems mathematically, and these events unfold. But that's how we feed the system with mainly our negative emotions, which is why we have to struggle here. So I am sorry, I've talked so much, I've completely
Mhm.
lost sight of the question.
No, that's fine. So we just so that's the we were just talking about soul consciousness. So
Mm.
is the soul consciousness like the core of the soul? Is that the most important part of the soul?
Is the soul consciousness the core of the soul? Essentially, yes, that is the essence of the soul.
Right.
It's what drives the soul. It's what powers the soul. And of
Yeah.
course, it's amazing to me that as souls, we are still completely enthusiastic about, re-entering into this world again, coming back to the earth plane. Well, how do they keep us in being enthusiastic? Well, they take away the weight, right? If you go up to the spirit world with all these weighted emotions, are you going to feel motivated and enthusiastic about coming back down here? Absolutely not.
Yeah. True. So okay, and what about the link between the soul consciousness and the IQ? How are they linked together?
The soul consciousness and the IQ, how are they linked together? Well, the soul consciousness is determined by like an earth plane, if we want to measure it in those terms, right? Because they don't have really IQ levels on the other side, but let's try and put it into earth plane terms, which is the earth plane, it matters. The IQ, it basically is the wisdom in making the contracts,
Yeah.
if
So in
that
terms
makes
of
sense.
yeah, but does the soul consciousness also affect the conscious mind IQ as well?
Does the soul consciousness IQ also affect the? Yes. There's a direct correlation from being a high IQ'd soul consciousness to a high IQ conscious mind here on the earth plane. Yes.
Wow. So does a higher soul consciousness level help make better contracts?
Ooh, does a high soul consciousness IQ make better contracts? Generally, yes. That was a good question.
Wow. So would that be the first thing? Like, would that be something souls would need to take on board as well, is to increase their soul conscious level and the IQ level on the soul level?
Mm, would that be something that souls? Yes, they need to work on increasing that soul consciousness IQ level. That was a really good question.
Wow. So does the panel have any advice on how souls can take that on board and actually work on it?
Mm, how do we take that on board and actually work with it? Well, you want to acquire as much wisdom as possible in the lifetime. So that is, that should be a guideline, a boundary. I'm
Yeah.
not entering into these or this here on the earth plane unless I benefit greatly with soul wisdom and IQ. Now, let me put a disclaimer in there. Most of the time we gain wisdom, it's because we've been through hell, right? So you may want to try to find a balance in there of, yes, I want to gain wisdom, but I don't need an extreme uh deficit, meaning like I don't need to be plunged into extreme darkness, extreme deficit, lack in order to
Mhm.
do so.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, does the soul consciousness have blockages?
Hmm. Does the soul? Absolutely, it does.
And
Yes.
does that impact the quality of the contract it makes?
All the time.
Wow. So that could also be something that souls need to work on, is to remove the blockages within the consciousness and to then like release their full potential?
Yes, and that is basically what the soul is trying to do. It's trying to turn as much darkness, energetic darkness that it is held within the soul consciousness, the basically like the DNA, the programming, the
Mm,
barcode, whatever you want to call it, into light, and it's trying to do that whilst here on the earth plane. That is the only opportunity that it has. Now, I have to tell you, you've all been doing your homework because as I've been doing some of these individual CTT sessions, I'm like, oh my God, like who's standing up there with George? Okay. And it seems to be that the ancestors are standing up there. So you've done your homework. You've told your ancestors, your loved ones, and to find George on the other side and to sit in on our Monday morning tappings and to sit in on individual sessions. So brilliant. Good work, guys.
yeah. And also, when souls make contracts, like, are they aware, like, do they know that they're not living up to their potential? Like, are souls aware of their potential?
Ooh, are souls aware of our potential? No, they have no idea of the potential. That is a hindsight, looking back thing and not a foresight.
So, is that
They
something souls
think
can
they
be? Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Sorry. They
No problem.
think they may know, but again, it's like, you come to a fork in the road. If I turn right or if I turn left, will the traffic be better? And I'm not talking about those of us that have ways like, please report it ahead, scares the hell out of everybody and you have to hit the button. Yes, they're still there. I'm not talking about that. I'm
Mm,
talking about, you don't actually just say your GPS drops and nothing's working. We are so spoiled.
yeah.
And you turn, you turn right. Is the road on the right going to be the better way or the road on the left?
Mm,
It's a guessing game.
yeah. So, is that something souls can become aware of? They can become aware of their potential?
Over time, yes. But usually that's from where what I'm getting is where they discuss with other souls in the spirit world, like what worked for you, what didn't work for you. They attend lectures. They're willing to try out new experiences, and that's another issue as well. Because when we choose to reincarnate, we're reincarnating back in at a time which nobody has lived in before, right? We've never
Mm,
lived in that time. We've gone from like building our houses out of clay and claiming our land and raising, crops and whatever, or being in tribal warfare or and living next to the river, fishing, whatever. And now when we're choosing to come back down, that time period is so unique to us. How are we supposed to really fully understand the outcome of what our contracts are going to be?
yeah. Yeah. That's yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So that's okay. Let's talk about actually how the souls can make the changes and take like
Mhm.
information on board. So like, can a soul change the way it makes soul contracts?
Absolutely. The panel said yes.
Okay, so let's start with by asking, so how can a soul make those changes?
How can the soul make those changes? Well, you have to set guidelines, right?
Right.
Um, you need to, when you're making your list, you need to be very specific of your perception of the list. So, say for example, all of us have been in probably terrible relationships, myself included. Ugh, my first boyfriend, gag. Um, what was it, excuse me, what
Mm,
was it about that contract that, you know, I didn't like or we didn't like, right? What was it? Was it unfair? Those of us that are making contracts with narcissists, oh my God, like, geez, because usually there's never any resolution, there's never any closure from those contracts. We are completely destroyed, put through the ringer. And somebody's laughing about my boyfriend comment. Ugh, it really was gag. Like, I never want to see him ever again. Ugh. Anyway, so yeah, like that's never resolved. And the thing about the narcissist is they always come up trumps, right? They always come up smelling like roses. Everybody thinks they're so wonderful. It's very rare that they get fully exposed. So say you are in a contract with a narcissist. Okay, what is it that you really don't like about the contract? What was it that was unfair? You got completely destroyed by this person, and yet you have nothing. They completely destroyed your friendships, your relationships, your financials, your self esteem. I mean, guys, those of you that have never been in any sort of situation or relationships with any sort of narcissist, whether it's parental or love relation, whatever, think yourself lucky. Jesus, I mean, they really they will destroy you, absolutely destroy you. And you come out so wounded and battered that and they come out and they're fine. It's like they get off scot-free, right? So you would need to, taking that as an example, you would need to list like how you think this contract was unfair. They didn't get their comeuppance. They didn't get their karmic retribution. You didn't see the karmic retribution. They were allowed to completely destroy you, and some people become so destroyed in these contracts with narcissists, right? They can't even recover from that. They are completely screwed for the rest of their lives. Okay.
Mm.
So, what is it about the closure, the recovery? You need to make what they're saying is like this extensive list of how this contract did not benefit you, how it was completely destructive. Do you think that you gained strength from the contract? That's a really important part. Did you? Did you gain strength? Was this energetically fair? You know, why am I not allowed to see that karmic retribution?
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
what they're
So
talking about. It's like, is the contract fair? Is it an even balance of karma? Or was someone allowed to completely destroy you, and then you get through the lifetime and you're like, oh yeah, well, now it's my turn to destroy you. No, no, because then what does that do? Now you're taking on all the negatives, and it just creates this like, it's like the dog chasing its tail, right? You're just going round and round and round. It never ends.
mhm, yeah. So also let's just talk about like soul boundaries we can put in. So we had a few already pointed out. So let's say like unconditional love can be one of the boundaries.
Mm. Yes, and I've seen that before in one of the CTT sessions where somebody up there is, or when they're up there, they're down here at the moment. When they're making contracts, they're not making contracts with souls that love them unconditionally and want them to succeed.
Mm,
So it's about, does this soul actually unconditionally love me? Souls are not allowed to lie up
yeah.
there. It's not allowed. And are we thinking, why aren't we asking, do you actually love me unconditionally and want me to succeed? We don't ask those questions up there. It's so frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah. So also that could be another thing is just like ask important questions when making a contract as well. That's something souls need to take on board.
Absolutely. We often don't even ask anything.
Yeah.
We don't.
Yeah. And then we can also have contracts with souls which are at similar or better level compared to us.
Mm. Should we make soul contracts with those of us that are on the same ascension level? We often don't. Actually, that was a good question. We often don't. Actually, what the panel are saying is that we make these soul contracts with those that are several steps below us. And we're trying to do our good part and we're being
Mm,
generous, trying to pull them forward with us. Now, that could be because of unconditional love. We could love those souls unconditionally, therefore, we want them to come with us.
yeah.
So it all depends. Is it the soul family that you love unconditionally? Well, yes. Then you want to bring them forward, even though they're not of the same ascension level. But if it's just like a fly by night, maybe go to a bad job, somebody completely destroys you at work, or a
Mm,
bad relationship, somebody completely destroyed. Now, those I would say that's got to be cut out.
yeah. So another thing could be like having contracts which are beneficial in both directions, so benefits both souls, not just the one-way contracts.
So, what they're saying is it needs to be an equal distribution of energy, like
Mm,
completely even. And also, if you're making contracts, they're saying with, that equilibrium in mind, that equal, like it's like a mathematical equation, right? Where
mm.
what kind of math is it where you got to get the both sides
Uh,
to equal the same
balance,
thing?
balance, balanced equations.
Yeah, it has to be a balanced mathematical equation, right?
Yeah.
Now, they're saying, your mathematicians here saying, if you can make those balanced mathematical equations, those energetic karmic balanced equations, that
Mm,
allows you to be released after the lifetime is finished because there's absolutely no karmic debt there.
mm,
Now, the one downside of that, they're saying, is that you could be up in the spirit world and you could have nobody to make contracts with, right? And then
hmm.
that becomes a problem. Then the advisors step in, they start setting you up with different souls to make contracts with. So you need to think about that as well.
Yeah. 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 That's a good point. Also things such as like negative personality traits like narcissists, addictions, things like that. That's
Mm.
important as well to put in your boundaries.
Yes, yes. And anybody who has been raised by an addict will know that they went through hell. Okay. So, yeah, you may want to forego the addiction in the next lifetime. Or you're married to an addict or you live with an addict. I mean, it's hell, isn't it? Right? So, um, what they're saying is you may want to erase that. But if you think you're going to come down to the earth plane and get off scot-free with no negatives and no suffering, think again because that's where you start marching towards the incinerator, right? That's where I'm no longer making a contribution to the universal consciousness energetically. Therefore, I am a waste of space. I am a fragment of source that is completely wasted. I haven't completed the ascension cycle, but I'm not playing the game effectively, right? You could be destroyed.
Yeah. Yeah. And just a couple more points from me. Also making contracts with souls who don't actually improve. That we need to stop making contracts with souls which aren't actually improving during each incarnation.
Ooh, that's a good question. Do we need to stop making? Yes. Now those are the unfair contracts. Those are the ones that are dragging us down big
Yeah.
time. Now, again, it depends if those are your soul family and you want to, keep them with you and you want to continue to experience the lifetimes with them because you do love them unconditionally, like particularly like your children, right? You may not want to abandon your children and say, but then I've had people say, Liz, I can't do it. Like I love them, like they're my son or my daughter, but I can't do this. Like
Yeah.
this is not good for me. They have like put me through sheer hell. I love them, but I have to let them go. Like we
Yeah.
cannot keep making soul contracts together because I just can't do it.
Yeah. So okay, let's ask Carl Jung. Like, does he have any recommendations for boundaries like he wished he would put into his lifetimes?
Yes. He had a very overbearing, controlling female in his female presence in his lifetime. So much so that he wants to be female in the next lifetime, he's saying. And I'm saying, really? He goes, yeah, women are ruling the world. And that may be something that you guys want to take into consideration, as we're watching the pendulum swing the other way now, where women are starting to rule more, as we're shedding, a lot of those, you can't work and you can't do this and you can't do that. Um, you may want to think about your gender roles in the future, right? What do I want to be in the future? Do I want to be, you know, maybe a female, strong female role that has to work like two jobs and raise her kids all at once? Or, those are kinds of things you could put in the contract, where you have no time for yourself, and maybe you want to devote time to your spiritual journey, but you haven't been able to because you're, running around like a chicken with its head cut off, trying to feed and clothe and cook and do, speaking from my own experience here. But anyway, for that's something you may want to consider putting into the soul contract. But do we need to, like, what else can we put into the soul contracts that would really start to set up these boundaries? Okay, is this contract for the long term? It's usually the short term contracts that can shock us the most, right? Again, it's those incidents or, fleeting contracts, short relationships, work things, road rage, maybe bullying, you're being bullied for something. What he's saying is it's those contracts that are really not so much beneficial, right?
Yeah.
And am I going to grow from the contract? Really, and how much am I going to grow? Am I going to gain ascension through the contract? Now, again, it's guesswork, but what the panel are saying, like mathematically, you can work it out based upon probabilities instead of just, yeah, whatever, sign me up. You can work it out based upon probabilities. They're saying that you can ascend and grow. And you know, is this soul worth making contracts with in the future? Right? Because you'll have some souls that are just so hell bent on bringing in so much destruction to many, many people. Do we really need that extreme destruction anymore? So what sort of things are we talking about? Like, let's talk about like where there's been mass shootings, and those of you in Europe, I know you're lucky. But excuse me, things like that, where there's been like mass casualties, um, and somebody's gotten away with it, like serial killers, things like that. Do we really need those extreme events, those things in the contract? No, Young is saying we really don't need those anymore. That's part of the wisdom of the soul. It's being able to find growth through not having to experience major extremes. Like for me personally, I'm already making a list. I'm like, I can't imagine, and I hope to God I never have to imagine what it's like if one of your kids goes missing. You know, I could not, oh my God, like that is so destructive. And do we need to have that kind of level of destruction, right? Or something just absolute tragedy that happens like that, on par with that, where you're absolutely going out of your mind every day, day in and day out, what happened to your kid, right? That those are the types of extremes that when you have a wise soul with a high IQ, consciousness IQ, you tend to avoid the extremes. Your lessons, what they're saying, tend to be more mediocre, where and you have your soul has so much determination embedded within it. Like determination is key um, you don't need those levels of destruction.
Yeah.
You don't need to be in physically abusive relationships, or do we need to really keep making these contracts where we're sexually abused, or we're raised by extremely mentally ill people, physically abused? Like, do we really need to do that? Life is hard as it is. We're going to have negative experiences. Do we really need to keep factoring in those extremes? Now, some people have a particular person in their soul family that, they pass before we get there, and they come and you get on the other side. Hey, great to see you. I got a list. I got a list here. Look at this. Look at this. Look what I've cooked up since I've been up here and you're down there. Look at this. Let's kill each other. Let's beat each other up. Let's get injured. Let's have let's do all this. It's going to be great. And then their enthusiasm for these extremes is so powerful that it spills over onto us, and we just, oh yeah, okay. And we're just taken in by the excitement of it all as souls. We do that. We get sucked into that vacuum of excitement, and we're like, yeah, okay, sign me up. Right? That's where they're saying like boundaries have got to be in place, that we're not just signing up. We have to stop that. And so that is something to install. I hope somebody's taking notes of all this, by the way. But that is something to install as well, is to, the boundaries. That has to be a boundary. I can't just get excited and take on somebody else's excitement for all these disasters that they've cooked up, right? No matter how much I love them, we have to review and analyze and methodically pick through these contracts. So what if it delays us being able to reincarnate down here for 200 years? It takes time to do this. A lot of souls are just in a rush, and they think if they rush through this and in and out and in and out, right, they're going to get to the other side faster, meaning ascension, complete ascension. You never have to do this again. Well, that doesn't work. We found that that does not work at all. So what we're saying here, or what the panel is saying here, is like to really pick through, analyze, critically think about these soul contracts. What happened the last time? That's another boundary. Review about, what happened the last time I made a contract with this individual. Did it benefit me? Now those are big questions. And even though the weight is gone, that negative weight is gone, if you install in the soul what they're saying, that ability to question and take a step back and start really looking into these contracts, you install some, method, a protocol, then that's going to save you in the long run.
Yeah. And also, like, are souls able to do the maths when they actually make the soul contracts? Like, can they
Do
calculate the probability whilst making the contracts?
Hmm. Are they actually able to do the maths as they are making the contract? No, but they can, with a lot of analysis, find the most probable ascension outcome.
Okay. And is that something they can do by themselves whilst or before making the contracts?
So you all need to find the mathematician in the spirit world when you get up there, so you can do that for us. No, it's not something they can really do themselves. It basically, you have to really analyze. It's always better to talk about your problems with other people. That's what I'm getting. Like, it's the same philosophy there. Like, you're bouncing these ideas off of, highly skilled, highly developed souls, not the advisors that have never
Mm.
been humans. That should definitely be a boundary. We no longer take advice from, you know, souls that have been knocking around up there for so long that they've never experienced modern human lifetime, right? I mean, that's just ridiculous. But yeah, that's what I'm getting. It's like you need to bounce your ideas off of very, high IQ, very wise souls, not advisors, but those that are still subjected to, subject to reincarnation here on the earth plane, and you're getting feedback.
Yeah. So is that something we need to go and find, like find these high level people within the spirit world and actually like make connect with them and ask them questions?
Yes, but you have to install that programming within the soul in order that you do that. Because don't forget, it's like you're going to a party up there. All your
Yeah.
worries and troubles when you're at a good party seem to just disappear, right? Oh, wow. For, a couple of hours with the food and the drinks flowing and the happiness and the party and the music, right? We forget about our problems. That's what it's like up there. It's like one big, energy party where we forget our problems. So that
Yeah.
has to be something that is installed. That is another boundary. I really hope somebody's taking notes because I can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, so all these contracts we're making, are they just algorithms in our programming?
Hmm. No.
So what are they?
So they're saying algorithms are like blanket generalizations.
Hmm.
They're saying that these things that are within our soul are so unique, it's down to the individual. Even though we do have, obviously the ability to experience similar things, but no two souls have experienced exactly the same things. No two souls are alike in their experiences.
Yes. But the way a soul makes contract from lifetime to lifetime, is that an algorithm for itself?
Yes.
Yeah. So is that what we need to modify the way it makes contracts from lifetime to lifetime? Is that what we're modifying its algorithm?
No. It seems like the algorithms sort of change, the guidelines change, and that's down to what they're saying, the time period that we're choosing to come back in.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Right. So let's just talk about how like so we discussed so much about all these boundaries, but let's like give tips on actually how to make put these changes in. So what tapping or things people can do to actually so let's also take this information on board.
Tapping could we do? So we would need to make a protocol, a definitive list. That's why I was like, I hope you guys are taking notes. I know I keep saying it. Yes, I have the AI note taker on. Thank you. But it often like, leaves out really salient points. We're gonna have to work on this, right? This is huge. So we're gonna have to develop a protocol and where we have a blanket one size fits all protocol, and then you insert your own things into the protocol as well, like your own individual experiences is what I'm getting. But basically we definitely need to, develop this protocol from a lot of the stuff that we've covered.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's yeah, that pretty much covers the questions for today. So like Iliam, if you want to ask take questions from the people in the group.
Huh? Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Listen, give this guy a round of applause. Seriously, see what I'm talking about? He's fabulous. And I really appreciate everything that you have done, all those questions. And I know your brain, you're not going to rest. You're going to sit down, think about it, and create a whole bunch of new questions. But this was brilliant. And you, my friend, are extremely smart. You're exceptional. What can we say? You really are. And we're just so appreciative of what you've done for us today, right? And this whole idea. All right, so I
Yeah.
am going to, if I can find you, mute you, and I'll start taking questions. Yeah. You're gonna have to bear with me, guys, because, like, normally I'm not the host and the medium at the same time. But okay, so I'm looking here, and please do not hate me if I get you out of order. Let's start with code, and I'm going to try and get to as many people as possible.
Thank you. And brilliant.
Code, actually, when you're done, do you want to take over the hosting? And I'll give you hosting.
Sure.
Thank you. All
You're
right, fire away.
brilliant mathematician. You were picking up on the questions that I was asking, and rattling, just firing them off as I was thinking them, or just after I thought them, and just this is absolutely brilliant session, and I cannot wait for the replay. Thank you so much. The question is, are we able to program the soul to start working on this while we're still on the earth plane? And how does programming the mathematics into the lifetime, how effective is that at increasing the IQ?
Ooh, okay, let's break it down one by one. So the first part, because my brain is a little fried. The first part of that is
The Are we able to program the soul to start working on this while we're still on the earth plane?
okay, it is imperative that we work on this while we are on the earth plane because when we get up into the spirit world, it's too late. And we don't know. Listen, I'm going to try. I'm trying, guys. Please don't hate me up there. Don't come after me with pitchforks in the spirit world, right? I can see you all chasing me. Let's get her. I'm gonna try to do a continuum of from where I am, where I leave the earth plane this time around, that I pick up where I leave off, with the CTT, and we have the CTT again in the next lifetime. Please, dear God, I'm begging for that and the psychic mediumship ability. Because right now my soul is like pretty much saying, "Hey, I'm been there, done that. Maybe I need to try something different." I'm like, no, no, we need to remain and carry on the CTT." So you have to start this now. Similarly, if you are tapping for your loved ones that are in spirit, they cannot really do that energy exchange whilst they are up there. They're not that energetically powerful. It's dimmed down, right? And we know that. Those of us in the CTT, we know this. And so you have to do that for them as well. If you want a better life and you're going to keep making soul contracts with these soul families and they're on the other side, or what, even if they're not on the other side, you can do CTT for them. But if they are on the other side, you need to do it because everything that you do for them, providing you're coming back down with them again, is going to benefit you in the long run. Okay, I'm sorry. And the second part of that question,
No, that's okay. We can go on to other hands
okay, well,
for the
you're
sake.
host now.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I apologize if I don't have these in order because I'm just looking at this now. We'll take them from the top. Suni, go ahead and you are up. We'll
Hello.
unmute.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I have a question where I remember we talked about the God Spark. Maybe we
Mm.
could do something with the God Spark where we're able to make access our soul wisdom for the highest probability of a mutual soul contracts. Because that's something that you said that all of us have access to, even if we're not really aware of it. Maybe that could be the way that we help circumvent the lack of tangibility with our emotions and the weight of duality and karma to direct ourselves into making sure that we find the most benevolent and mutually beneficial or sustainable relationships or contracts.
Mm. That's a great question, Sunny. Thank you. And nice to see you again. Um, let's ask our panel. We got our mathematicians panel up here. Can we use the God Spark? Yeah, we can use the God Spark. We can actually put the information into the God Spark. The God Spark is part of what they're saying, the soul consciousness. So, if you really want to lock it away and never allow it to leave, you can put it in the God Spark. That was a great question. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sunny. The next questioner is Luna.
Luna.
We'll go ahead and have you unmute. Luna, going once, going twice. There we go.
Here.
Hi, welcome.
Hi. Hi, Liz. How are you?
Oh my gosh. Hi. I know you're going to kill me because I haven't put your appointment in. I am so sorry. I will. I have, to be fair, if I'm absolutely honest, I have a whole slew of people I have not put in yet. I'm telling you,
Uh,
these kids are just putting me through the ringer at the moment.
No
Oh
problem.
my
I
goodness. Like
understand.
yesterday, we started at 10 a.m. at a child's birthday party. Oh my God. It was this massive house. They had pony rides. Their house was so big, they had an inflatable bouncy castle in the house.
Oh,
And they filled them all with sugar and then they send
oh,
them
wow.
home.
Oh,
So, yeah.
I said,
Yeah,
that is
please
terrible.
forgive me.
No, you are forgiven. You don't have to apologize to me, you know.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
No,
really am.
no.
I feel terrible. I really do. My dream is to open a CTT clinic, have about 5 or 6 practitioners, and we're just sitting there all day
Uh,
long with a massive scholarship fund behind it that nobody has to pay for CTT sessions. It's all free. It's on a first come first serve. Based upon need and obviously our group gets first dibs, but that would be my dream. Honestly, trust me, I need those high yields to come in just as much as everybody else because that's my ultimate dream is to create
uh,
this. Anyway, my love, what is your question, please?
okay, I think I do can do. Sorry, my English is bad.
It's fine.
I don't have too many boundaries in this lifetime, you know?
Mm.
Um, I don't know. I hope for the next time it's gonna be better. But apart of that, I just wanna know how do you see me now? Because I'm doing much better.
You are doing much better. You're learning and you're growing and you are putting in boundaries. And I feel whereas before you were completely heartbroken over the thing with your daughter, that's
Uh,
starting to subside now. I feel that you have worked on your self-love enough. What I'm getting is you've worked on your self-love enough to the point
yes.
that, you know, it's down to her, right?
Yeah.
You've done as much as you can do. You understand that. You have moved into a place of forgiveness of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because, of course, as a parent, you're like, oh my God, what have I done? And I feel that you've moved past that now and that you've moved into this place of forgiveness with yourself. And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But again, so let's talk about those boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
You are learning boundaries. But when it comes down to making contracts with your daughter, again, there's no
Mm-hmm.
boundaries there. And that
Mm.
is where you want to remember how painful this is for you. And I hope you don't mind me sharing, but how painful this is for you and
Yeah.
how, heartbreaking. And it's not just her. There have been other strong women in and around the Soul family that have also tried to destroy you in many different
Yeah.
ways. So again, it's like, how am I benefiting from this contract? Your
Yeah.
recovery has been extremely slow. So it's almost as
Mm-hmm.
if, what I'm picking up on this massive imbalance in the
Yeah.
contract where you're the one picking up your pieces, your fragments, where you've
Mm-hmm.
been destroyed. And it's a very slow, painful process whilst they're getting off scot-free. Again, this is that sort of scenario we were talking about just a minute ago. So I would say, it's your grandmother coming through. She loves you very much.
Edna.
Yes, she says, when you come up here, I'm going to give you the biggest hug and kiss you've ever had. You will never forget it. She loves you very, very much.
Yeah.
So what she's saying is like you've got to really install these boundaries now around making these imbalanced contracts. Like you cannot continue to allow because your daughter's not growing spiritually. This whole I'm going to cut people out of my life. that makes
Uh-huh.
you feel better on a conscious mind level in this lifetime, but you're going nowhere on the ascension ladder with that. And I'm going to
Yeah.
tell you right now, nowhere.
I'm
So,
I'm so I'm sorry to say that, but I don't want to care more about her.
I understand. Um, because you've been put through the ringer. So, okay, well, then you need to put in boundaries about making contracts because what her soul does when you get into the spirit world, she's done this to you many times before, by the way. But when you get
Yeah.
into the spirit world, what I'm getting is let's just try one more time. Please, 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 we can do it. And you are a sucker. You fall, you're like, okay, you cave.
No way.
Those
No more.
Yeah, those are the types of boundaries we got to put in. Oh, that was a brilliant question. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Luna.
Love you.
Love
Bye.
you.
Gracias.
Bye.
Ciao. Ciao.
Ciao.
Okay, our next questioner is Michelle. Go ahead, Michelle.
Michelle, my bell. Hello, Michelle.
Hi, Liz. Oh my God, this has been so great today. I'm home.
Oh, thank
I'm
you.
listening. My my question, you know what? If when we get in that spirit world and I have to chase that mathematician down, he's gonna run because I suck at math. So I don't know. Okay, so am I missing verbiage that I should be saying every day to change my contract from my narcissistic husband? Because I'll just give you an example. I feel like I'm trying a little bit more and he just is completely uninterested in me. He does not want to spend any time with me. He doesn't want to take me out. Is something shifted and changed again? Because am I missing the verbiage that I need to be saying every day?
Okay.
I guess that's a
Brilliant
two-part question. I guess what's going on with him and why is he so uninterested in me? And I ask him to leave and he won't. So
Well, that's typical of a narcissist. They don't
yeah,
want to leave.
yeah, he
They
don't
don't
want to leave, but he don't want to spend time with me. So is it that he's got something else right now again?
I told you he was calling your bluff when he
I
said, I'm
know,
just going to leave. I told you that.
I
I said,
know,
he's calling
I
your bluff. He's going nowhere
I know he is, but why are you not even trying with me?
because, okay,
Is
thank you.
something going on again that I don't know about?
I don't think it's physical, but what I'm getting is it's in the head, right? So,
Meaning,
um,
give me an example because I'm kind of being
like
clueless.
okay. All right. Anybody who's dealt with an addict, okay? What happens is they go round and round this addiction loop. Okay. So they try to be good, then the cravings or the compulsions start. All right. So then they start fantasizing about the addiction. What it doesn't matter what the addiction is, right? It doesn't matter if it's alcohol, drugs, gambling, whatever, right? Sex addiction, porn addiction. They start fantasizing about who I just wow, how I feel and obtaining the stuff and it starts to provide a dopamine hit at that point. This is how the brain works. It starts providing a dopamine hit, and so they start going further down that path, right? So they're in this fantasy, and then the fantasy and the compulsions mix together until they obtain the substance, the addictive substance, whatever it is. Okay, it could be the cupcake in the fridge. You know me. Could the substance, and then of course after they obtain the substance, they feel like crap. Right? Oh my God, I did it again. I caved. I'm so ashamed. I feel terrible, blah, blah, blah. Right? And then what happens? They feel terrible. How are they going to get themselves to feel good again? And here we go, right back around that cycle, that circle, that cycle, whatever you want to call it.
So is he trying to jump into finding somebody again?
Yeah, I think he's at that point. So he's not at the point where he is
Is that so uninterested in me?
is that yeah, because he's fantasizing about, getting back into that addiction. And this is why anybody, and listen, I have done CTT on addicts before, and it does work. It is very intense. It takes a lot of sessions, but it also requires the person who is the addict You got to be in like 12 step, you got to be in work groups, you got to be in therapy because addictions are so difficult to break. Okay. So, whilst we are here, and you're asking for the verbiage, I'll give you some in a minute.
Okay.
But whilst we are here, it has to be a multi-pronged approach. Now, you can sit there and you can try to break him from his addiction. And you can use CTT wording to do that. Easily and joyfully manifest the optimum ability for XYZ
Right.
to break their addiction. Okay. And I would also put in there without any major negative consequences. They're going to have to experience some negative consequences because you need them to hit rock bottom, right? But you don't want them to become like paraplegics or anything like that.
Right.
So without any major negative consequences to myself, that person, or our loved ones, okay? So that's how you would work on that. But you are fighting against very, very powerful brain wiring. So listen, boundaries, okay? You have done really great at
Mhm.
putting in boundaries against him in this lifetime. But on a soul level, you're weak at the knees, girl.
How do
You
I,
are just you are weak at the knees. I just looked at your soul knees and they buckled.
right? So
Um,
how do I get the verbiage to change because I don't want to get into heaven and be like, woo, it's a party and I'm going to forgive everybody and boo hoo. I want out of that contract.
And the first thing you've got to do, these are great questions, by the way. They're going to help so many people. So thank you. The
Thank you.
first thing you've got to do is you've got to release all the negative karmic debt between you, because what has happened is in this lifetime, he has created so much negative karma for you and negative feelings. So basically, he will hold you in place in that contract, right? So even though you're like, I'm done with this, get out of here, blah, blah, blah. When you get up there, he's got you.
How come
He's
he
got
does
you.
how come he gets no karma in this lifetime though?
See, that's the problem. See that
He's
he,
like whistling Dixie and I'm here suffering and hurting.
I know. And that's where the spirit team, the mathematician and Carl Young, that's where the team was saying, like, hey, this has got to stop, right? Because you're going through hell and he's sitting there coasting with his feet up, right?
Ex-
It's not fair. And so that is a boundary. Right. I refuse to make contracts with this person. And, you know, if we do enter into a contract, then I've got to see like karmic retribution immediately. Okay.
Mhm.
So a lot of us, we're like, yeah, we're okay with delayed gratification. We don't mind, uh, seeing it in the next lifetime or maybe 10 lifetimes from now. So that's a boundary that has to be set. But for you, I would say ditch it, right? I would say you can find better contracts out there. This is not serving you well. This is just causing you a lot of grief. Although it has made you stronger in your person, but it's stolen your joy.
Right.
And whilst you are with him, you will always be thinking, you will be on high alert. Okay, something that came through this morning, high alert. People that have ADHD, what came through this morning in a session, just before I forget and lose it, you most probably grew up on high alert all the time. Okay? You most probably grew up in a household where you were not able to relax and you had to be high alert because you never knew what was coming. You never knew if you were going to get assaulted, beaten, attacked, or there was major arguments in the home, throwing things like craziness going on, right? I would like to know, and I think that if they did a research study and they put it to, part of the questioning about the childhood and the home life from what people can remember is probably from almost birth these people with ADHD grew up in highly stressful environments where they had to stay on high alert at all times. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. That's what we got in a CTT session. Okay, so yeah, to answer your question, Michelle Mybell, is that, boundaries have got to be, I can't make these contracts. He's got a stronger personality on a soul level than you, and he keeps talking you back into these contracts. He's almost holding you hostage. So I hope that helps you, my love.
Thank you, Liz.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to mute you now, Michelle. Thank you. We'll go to the next questioner. It is Pivot Low.
Pivot Low. Wow. Okay. Hi, Pivot Low.
Hi there. So, this is such a profoundly powerful session, mathematician and
Oh,
Liz.
brilliant.
Like, gratitude in spades for this.
Thank you.
Okay, so soul consciousness and IQ are linked together. And
Oh, I know who this is.
yeah, you
Okay.
do.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay. I was like, yeah, I know this voice. Okay. Hi, my love. Thank you.
Psychic. Okay, so my question is about how soul consciousness and IQ are linked together, right? So the higher the IQ an earthling has is the wisdom behind making the contracts. So soul consciousness IQ affects the conscious IQ and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you have previously quantified IQ based on math abilities, and based on those metrics, I don't have a high IQ, but my level of consciousness is high and my EQ is probably high, which are obviously separate factors. So for individuals like myself who don't have high IQs, as you and I have isolated in a previous session about like my neurological shortcomings, how does that impact our subsequent lives in making smarter and less damaging soul contracts? It seems like a negative loop.
So, no, that's brilliant. And you are brilliant. I don't know why you would think anything less of yourself, but okay, you do hang around with some, brilliant people as well that are extremely brilliant, and maybe you feel a little less brilliant than they do, but I could say you're still well above average, my darling. So going forward into future lifetimes, in order to expand consciousness and raise IQ, what we have gotten from our mathematical panel in spirit is that maybe, well, they're saying not maybe, Liz, most definitely, we should focus on incorporating a high level of maths in, I'm saying it the British way, not the American way. In America, we say math. In Britain, we say maths. So high level of maths into the subsequent lifetimes doesn't mean that you have a low IQ. It means that you have more of a chance of consciousness expansion and brain capacity expansion if you have a concentration on mathematics. But you're very smart, and you do have a high level of consciousness. And I feel that what I'm getting is also that spiritual road that you're on, the path. I mean, you started that pretty early too. You're one of those lucky people that found it quite early on and you ran with it. So that is what has increased your awareness. You're just very consciously aware of your shortcomings, your flaws. That's one of the hardest things to do. It's like, I know I have to fix everything about me, but what is it that I'm supposed to fix? Even finding that information is really, really difficult, but you do that with ease. So, and that on that basis, the panel are saying, oh, and they think you're hot too. But they're like, tell her she's hot. I'm like, okay, you guys are so funny. No flirting. But they're saying that you are extremely intelligent. They want to date you. So that our high IQ panel over here, that says a lot.
Thank you.
They're so
Thank you.
funny.
Thank you for your question, Pivot Low. We appreciate you. You're spot on with the group. We'll go ahead and mute you now.
Thank you. Mm.
Liz, can you give us a time boundary in terms of minutes, how many more minutes we have with you? Because we've got 3 questions and 2 commented questions that came through for you.
Okay. Thank you. So my time boundary, because my brain is starting to wind down, is probably 20 minutes and counting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so next up we have Izzy. Izzy, we're going to ask you
Izzy.
to unmute, and you're next, darling. There you go.
Hi, nice to
Izzy. Hi.
yeah, it's lovely and sunny here in Nova Scotia. So, I was thinking, my like setting boundaries for my soul contracts and how there was an intense abuse, like in my last lifetime, where I unalived my biological mom because of the abuse and stuff. So, I really want to know, like, I'm open to like to repair the relationship between myself and my biological mom, but I'm not really sure. Like, I just don't want to put up with any more of the long-term abuse and the long-term trauma.
Okay, brilliant question. So, but you are beholden to those contracts because underneath it all, there is this belief system, and I do believe it to be true, of unconditional love. But this is where we make these soul contracts with those and we bring in these extremes. So it's like, yeah, we can continue making soul contracts if we want to, if we so choose, which you will, by the way, because there is this huge love between you all. But do we really need to go to these extremes? No, we don't. We have enough extremes outside of the childhood home. We don't need extremes within the childhood home. There's enough to contend with. So that, but I feel it's the male figure in the contracts that is really deciding all of this stuff. I'm getting that. The very strong personality, making a lot of these decisions that are not really beneficial for anybody. And you are all like blindly walking into it. It's like, yeah, okay. And I have somebody else that has the same issue, and she has worked really hard on getting rid of that because they often are very charismatic, very strong, very convincing. And that's where your problems are. So your protocol and your boundaries need to be more analysis, more questioning. I'm not agreeing to this. And even though it's, like it's kind of like when kids are wanting, I don't want to play that game. Oh, come on, it'll be fun. And it's the same scenario. And they, you get talked into doing something that you otherwise wouldn't want to do. And I told you it wasn't fun, but you all wouldn't listen and you wouldn't let, you know what I mean? So you regret making the decision of playing a particular game like kids do, and I'm not having a good time, right? So that's your problem. So the protocol has to be something to the effect of, I'm sorry, I need to get advice, or I need to take the terms of the contract, I need to go see my lawyer, right? I need to take the terms of the
Yeah,
contract and I need to discuss them. I need to get feedback. I need to, um, how is this going to benefit me? Because it doesn't. It doesn't benefit you at all. And it always ends up a positive for them because they're spewing out their negatives. They've got an outlet to spew their negatives. That's what a scapegoat is, by the way. A scapegoat is the receiver of all the anger and the hatred and the negatives, right? That's a healthy, it becomes a healthy outlet for the narcissist, but their anger and their it's never ending. That's the problem. It just doesn't end. It just goes on and on and on. So that's what a scapegoat is. And so you have agreed to be this healthy outlet for them so they're not bursting into flames with anger, right? And rage and difficulties. So yeah, that's where you need to go with it, Izzy.
yeah, thank you. That does make sense because, like, even in the natural realm, I'm learning the process of setting boundaries in So it's just the two seems to align closely together. Thank you very much. I'll
Oh,
pass
you're
the mic.
welcome.
Well
Well,
done.
thank you. Thank you, Izzy.
Powerful, Izzy. Thank you. Okay, next up we have Joel.
Oh, yes.
Welcome, Joel.
Joel, hello. How are you?
Hi Liz, this is Joel, aka Dex.
Yes.
Thanks again for creating the channel for me on the Discord. I just have a quick question. Um, you had mentioned in the past that I had blockages due to my previous lives. How has this led to where I'm at now when it comes to finances and wanting to improve and focusing on this endeavor when it comes to trading futures in the stock market?
Hmm. The blockages. That's a good question. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for helping everyone too, because we appreciate that. We're flying blind with that. So I don't know anything about that. So look, the blockages in the past lives. How does okay, so your soul is on the run, right? That's what I'm getting very strongly. Your soul is constantly running away from these blockages, and I mean, it's kind of doing a good job, but it's not resolving things, is what I'm getting. So it really is about going back, picking through, and resolving. You will be successful. I think I told you that before. And I do get that for you. And part of that is because you are on the run. You're determined to be successful. You're determined to make this work. And excuse me. And but at some point, I would ask that you slow down and you try to work on resolving those blockages. Now, for those of us that don't know what the blockages are, we can just use the CTT in a very generic format of there's a part of me that knows how to easily and joyfully manifest the optimum ability to transmute any and all negative blockages in and around my energy field, including my past lives, into positive white light self-love. The part of my being is willing to inform the rest of me now, and the rest. Now I know that you have an issue with tapping, and I know that anyone who is prone to seizure activity, there's a chance of having a seizure. You cannot do the tapping portion of the CTT. However, you can take this, and I believe we got this for you before. You can take the verbiage and you can use it in a meditation. Okay, so you're going in, you're using that meditation, you're using that verbiage, and you're asking your spiritual helpers and divine teams to go and locate those negative blockages for you and to transmute them directly into white light self-love. So physically, the tapping creates such a burst of energy that it becomes dangerous for anyone prone to seizure activity. Okay, so there is a problem. It's not for everyone if you have that experience, and I know you guys in the CTT group, and I know you, Dex, you know that, but it's just for those listening out there. And there is always that disclaimer on all the videos anyway. But you can definitely do it in deep meditation. Right now, I feel like you're running straight on the road to success. Once you have achieved that success, you will slow down. And that's what Spirit are recommending you do. And you start to work on that because those unresolved blockages will continue to follow you into every single lifetime. You've managed to escape them so far by running. However, there will be a time when you can't run away from your problems, meaning, and I'm sure you understand that. Not everybody can keep running, whether it's this lifetime or the next lifetime, is what I'm getting, and just running away from the problem. So, try to resolve them while you can, while you have this modality.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Brilliant, Dex. Thank you for your question. Next, we have a DM question from, I think I can say her name. I wasn't told not to. So it is a question from Nancy. So will we do a part 2 to this to create a protocol to make changes to soul contracts with CTT?
Yes, And that's why we've got to gather up all the information. So when I post the notes and the recording on the Patreon, if you guys have been taking notes, thank you, Nancy. You guys make sure you put the stuff in it because, like, for me, it's like I'm a medium. It goes in, it goes out. I can't retain all this stuff. So yeah, if you put it in the protocol and if you put it in the notes, you can see I'm getting tired. You put it in the notes on the Patreon, and then we'll start working on a protocol, and we will have to probably do a few of these workshops. I know you guys don't mind. Thank you. To get it down pat, right? To get a protocol going.
Thank you, Liz. And
Thank you.
we have one final hand and one DM from SAR. If you're able to take those two, we'll
Yeah.
cut it off at that. Okay, great. Pixie Dust, you are up. Welcome.
Pixie
Liz.
Dust. Hi.
Thank you so much for doing this today. This was excellent. And thank you to Mathematician. And
Oh, thank you.
I would like to know, I am surrounded by narcissists, so I definitely want to keep doing this and figure out how I can get out of this. My question is a now question, and that is that my mother, who is, I would consider a narcissist, has gotten Alzheimer's, and you projected that. And do I have to continue staying with her, or can I go on my spiritual path? Because she takes all my time.
I am so glad you asked that question. You no, you do, but I'm getting a no. Like she will eventually have to go into a home, and unfortunately, I know she's whatever your feelings are about her, but let's face it, none of us want to be in a home, and we don't wish that on other people as well. But I'm getting eventually. I don't feel it's too far out in the distant future. Actually, I think she's going downhill fast.
She is.
Does that make sense?
Yes. And
Yeah.
I sent her up to be with my brother because I was the only caretaker, and I'm now trying to clean out her house, which she was a hoarder. So that takes all my time, and I can't get to CTT on Monday. And, it's just, I'm fighting with that.
Oh yeah, well, that comes with the territory where
But I got to stay in that territory. That's what you're telling me.
yeah, no, I don't think you're going to be in that for very long at all. I feel that things are moving so quickly that I don't think it's going to take long because it's going to be to the point where you can't care for her, and she certainly cannot care for herself. Okay, she cannot be alone. She has to be under 24/7 care, and I'm also getting she is of danger to herself as well. Like she is reckless. She's not thinking things through. She could seriously hurt herself. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to be too long at all. I think this is a rapid decline.
Okay, and thank you, Pixie, for your question. Next, we have a SAR two-part. The first question is, when we are making soul contracts, are we just putting in algorithms in our program?
Are we just putting in algorithms in our program? Yeah, I mean, in a way, yes, because it's patterns, right? So individually, yes, we have patterns. You could attribute them to algorithms, but not a blanket pattern for everybody. I know she does have a lovely voice, doesn't she? They're complimenting you on your voice code. You do have a wonderful voice.
Thank you.
But yeah, so yes, it's a pattern. Yeah, algorithm pattern, which by the way, I'm not happy with YouTube. YouTube has changed all the algorithms and patterns, and like they're trying to push the shorts and they're taking away the long form. So those of you who've been writing to me going, Liz, I haven't seen your videos pop up. Well, blame YouTube. Make a big complaint to YouTube. And it's happening across the board to everyone. Everybody is furious and everybody's trying to figure out the problem. And YouTube have basically just shafted all of their long form creators. Anyway, sorry. If you're wondering why that's happening. Because if you notice, you go onto YouTube and it's nothing but shorts and shorts and short. Who cares? Shorts are rubbish. Like I don't know. I look at shorts and I'm like, okay, this is kind of brain dead for me. Anyway, my personal thoughts, feelings, and opinions. So yeah, algorithms, patterns in the soul. Absolutely. So this is where we have to put in a boundary, right? Because I'm not going to make a contract with that person who follows this particular pattern, this algorithm within me, but then I'm going to end up making it with someone else, right? Because it's still there. And this is where you've got to put in boundaries. There has to be other ways to resolve this problem other than having to make a soul contract. So maybe you want to say, as part of the boundary, is I find modalities or many modalities that will resolve the issues without having to make these terrible contracts with others. That was a good question.
Okay, and thank you for that. And then also to honor your time boundaries, this is the last and final question. And thank you to everyone. This is also a second part from SAR. Would you say that the natural law is just one big program without layers, and that we really have no control but the algorithms that we put into or in at contract time?
Okay. Is this just one big program with no? No, that's a good question. Is this one big program with no, this is a multi-layered program that is so thick and so deep and has so many layers to keep us confused, dazed and confused, right? So that we can't figure our way out, that we are stuck and we're feeding the system, the universal consciousness, and it keeps us, it keeps us motivated, it keeps us humble. In a lot of ways, it'll, the karma is multi-layered as well, is what I'm getting. No, this is a very complex system, mathematically so. And we don't even have the brain capacity to start piercing through and busting through a lot of these layers. So what we're seeing with the CTT, we're getting a look into these layers, but that's only because that's what our brains allow us to do. There's so many that we don't have the brain capacity to even look at, and it's an unfair system. Yes. Am I disgruntled about being here? No, I'm very appreciative that I'm here. So, yeah, okay, it's unfair. We know that. We know. Tell me something. Tell us something we don't know, right? We know it's an unfair system. Yeah. Okay, we know the system is rigged. We know that it's against us. We know all that. But we are mastering our way through it, and we are working out how to deal with it and make it better for us. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of soul contracts that I don't like, but I can honestly tell you that there are many soul contracts that I love. And doing this is one of them, right? Being with all of you, that's a big contract for me. Being with all of you, because we all love each other, right? No matter how much we fight and moan on the Discord, but we all do love each other. We're all still searching for the same goal. And so there's so many positive things about the system, about the lifetime, and the fact that we have this opportunity. Thank you, George, that we have this opportunity to work out what this actually is. So yeah, I see it all the time on the YouTube comment. I hate this. I just want to die. I want to find the exit door. I want to do that. No, because there's a lot of beauty in living, and you have to find it. And also part of the beauty is being able to master it. I mean, guys, we got an edge, right? Look at us. We've got such an edge over most of the population. I can guarantee that most of you in the group here, you can't even have this conversation with anyone else. So we're also grateful for one another, that we all have one another, and that we can talk about this stuff till the cows come home, or till Liz's brain, sparks out and unplugs. But we definitely can, right? And so there's a lot of beauty in this. And we have such, okay, call it an unfair advantage. So what? Yeah, okay, it's an unfair advantage, but we got lucky. We made these types of contracts to advance so much in our lives. I mean, we're going to be the first band of souls up there knocking around with boundaries. Can you believe that? And the other souls are going to start questioning us like, hey, how did you guys do that? How did you make it through the lifetime unscathed in such a way and scarred and battered and bruised and exhausted? Well, because we put in boundaries. We will have bragging rights up there when we get this boundaries protocol down pat. We will. So yeah, I mean that's a reason to be grateful. We're not doing this poor anymore. We're not doing this being abused anymore. We're not playing this game to lose. We're learning how to play the game to win. And part of that is having this information and putting these boundaries in place. So yeah, brilliant. Was there another part to that question?
No, that completes it. It's so
Okay, because my brain
perfectly, Liz. And I hope that we can keep the questions in the recording to benefit all of those that attended and will listen moving forward. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Code. Everybody, thank you, Code, for holding it together in the end because my brain is like, it needs a cup of tea with 2 sugars. No, I don't normally have 2 sugars, just 1 sugar. I normally don't have any sugar, but I definitely need 1 sugar. And yeah, so this is great. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you all coming. And thank you, Code, for taking over the hosting. And yeah, you guys, brilliant. We'll see you guys on the Discord. Love you all. Ciao.